Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Today we are taking a closer look at a development that many observers may overlook because it does not involve a dramatic headline about exchange rates, currency values, or sudden market movements. However, experienced economists, banking professionals, and international financial institutions often pay more attention to these kinds of developments than they do to short-term speculation. The reason is simple. Sustainable economic progress is usually built through institutions, systems, and credibility. Long before a currency gains wider acceptance or stronger confidence, the underlying framework supporting that currency must become stronger. The message we are analyzing today centers on four important pillars that support the credibility and functionality of a national currency. Those pillars are correspondent banking relationships, export income, financial transparency and credibility, and a functioning government capable of implementing policy and maintaining legal certainty. According to the information available, 3 of these 4 pillars experienced positive movement this week. For followers of the Iraqi dinar, this type of update deserves careful attention because it focuses on fundamentals rather than speculation. Financial markets can react to headlines in the short term, but long-term confidence is usually built on measurable improvements in economic institutions. This is particularly relevant for Iraq, a country that continues working toward greater integration with the global economy, while simultaneously pursuing banking modernization, economic diversification, and financial reform. When discussing currencies, many people immediately think about exchange rates. While exchange rates are certainly important, professional analysts often begin with a different question. Before asking what a currency is worth, they ask why investors, businesses, and financial institutions should trust it. Trust is the foundation of every modern monetary system. Without trust, a currency struggles to attract investment, facilitate trade, and support economic growth. With trust, opportunities begin to expand. The first pillar mentioned in today's discussion is correspondent banking relationships. This topic may sound technical, but its importance cannot be overstated. Correspondent banks act as bridges between financial institutions in different countries. They allow payments to move across borders, facilitate international commerce, and help connect local economies to the broader global financial system. For many years, countries around the world have worked to strengthen these relationships because international trade increasingly depends on efficient banking networks. When businesses import goods, export products, or engage in cross-border investment, correspondent banking relationships help make those transactions possible. For Iraq, expanding and improving banking connectivity can be viewed as an important step toward deeper integration with global markets. International companies generally prefer operating in environments where banking systems are reliable, transparent, and connected to major financial networks. When these connections improve, transaction costs may decrease, efficiency can increase, and confidence among foreign partners often strengthens. This does not mean that improved banking relationships automatically lead to changes in currency valuation. That would be an oversimplification. What it does mean is that stronger banking connectivity creates infrastructure that supports economic activity. Just as roads and ports facilitate physical trade, correspondent banking relationships facilitate financial trade. They are part of the foundation upon which modern economies operate. Another important aspect of correspondent banking is compliance. International financial institutions place significant emphasis on anti-money laundering standards, financial monitoring systems, and regulatory transparency. Countries that strengthen compliance frameworks often find it easier to maintain and expand relationships with global banking partners. As these relationships grow, financial institutions gain greater access to international services and markets. The second pillar identified in today's analysis is exports. Export performance remains one of the most important indicators of economic strength because exports generate income from abroad and bring foreign currency into the domestic economy. For Iraq, this area carries particular significance due to the country's substantial energy sector. Oil exports continue to represent a major source of national revenue. When export activity remains strong, government finances often benefit through increased revenue streams. Those revenues can support infrastructure projects, public services, economic development initiatives, and other priorities aimed at strengthening the broader economy. Exports earnings also contribute to foreign exchange reserves. Reserves are important because they help provide stability during periods of economic uncertainty. They can support monetary policy objectives and provide confidence to markets that a country possesses resources to meet international obligations. For Iraqi Dinar followers, export performance serves as an important indicator because it reflects the country's ability to generate international income. Economies that consistently produce valuable exports often possess stronger financial foundations than economies that rely primarily on domestic activity alone. At the same time, many economists emphasize the importance of diversification. While energy exports remain critically important, long-term economic resilience can benefit from growth across multiple sectors. Manufacturing, agriculture, technology, logistics, tourism, and various service industries can all contribute to a broader economic base. Diversification helps reduce vulnerability to fluctuations in any single industry and can support more stable growth over time. The third pillar discussed in today's update involves credibility through clean books. This phrase refers to transparency, accountability, financial reporting standards, and the overall integrity of economic information. Transparency is often one of the most underestimated components of economic development, yet it plays a central role in attracting investment and building trust. Investors prefer environments where information is accurate, accessible, and reliable. Financial institutions prefer dealing with counterparts that maintain clear reporting standards. International organizations often evaluate transparency when assessing economic reforms and institutional progress. Building credibility is not something that can be accomplished overnight. It requires consistent effort over many years. Governments, regulators, financial institutions, and businesses all contribute to this process. Policies must be implemented effectively. Reporting standards must be maintained consistently. Regulatory systems must function properly. When transparency improves, uncertainty often decreases. Lower uncertainty can encourage investment because investors feel more confident about assessing risks and opportunities. Businesses benefit when economic information is reliable because planning becomes easier and decision-making becomes more efficient. For Iraq, progress in transparency and compliance has frequently been viewed positively by international observers. Such progress can support stronger relationships with global financial institutions and improve perceptions among international investors. These developments may not always generate immediate headlines, but they often represent meaningful advances in the long-term development of the economy. The fourth pillar identified in the statement is a functioning government, supported by legal authority and effective governance. Political stability remains one of the most important variables influencing economic confidence. Investors, businesses, lenders, and trading partners generally prefer predictable environments where policies can be implemented consistently. A functioning government plays numerous roles within an economy. It establishes legal frameworks, approves budgets, oversees public projects, enacts reforms, and coordinates economic strategy. Effective governance helps create an environment where businesses can operate with greater certainty. Political stability does not guarantee economic success, but instability often creates additional challenges. When policies change unpredictably, or institutions face uncertainty, investment decisions can become more difficult. By contrast, stable governance can support long-term planning and encourage economic activity. The statement notes that 3 of the 4 pillars experienced positive movement during the week. While specific details are not provided, the broader implication is significant. Progress occurring simultaneously across multiple areas can be more meaningful than progress confined to a single category. Economic development is often cumulative. Improvements in one area reinforce improvements in another. For example, stronger banking systems may support trade activity. Increased trade activity can generate higher export earnings. Greater export earnings may strengthen public finances. Stronger public finances can support infrastructure development and institutional reforms. Over time, these interconnected improvements can create positive momentum. This interconnected nature of economic development is one reason analysts frequently emphasize fundamentals. Sustainable progress rarely depends on one announcement or one policy decision. Instead, it emerges through the gradual strengthening of institutions, systems, and economic performance. From a short-term perspective, it is important to recognize that markets often take time to evaluate institutional developments. Not every reform produces an immediate visible effect. Banking modernization, regulatory improvements, and governance enhancements frequently require months or years before their full impact becomes apparent. This reality can sometimes frustrate observers who focus primarily on short-term outcomes. However, economic history demonstrates that durable improvements often require patience. Countries that successfully strengthen institutions generally do so through consistent effort rather than sudden transformations. Looking toward the medium term, continued progress in banking connectivity, export performance, transparency, and governance could contribute to a stronger economic foundation. These are precisely the kinds of indicators that many professional analysts monitor when assessing long-term economic prospects. A stronger foundation can create opportunities for increased investment, improved business confidence, and broader economic participation. While challenges inevitably remain, progress across multiple pillars can support a more resilient economic environment. Long-term implications may ultimately prove even more important. Around the world, economies that establish credible institutions, maintain transparent financial systems, support productive industries, and provide political stability often become more attractive destinations for investment and commerce. For Iraq, ongoing efforts to strengthen institutions and expand economic opportunities remain central to future development. The country possesses significant resources, a strategic geographic location, and substantial economic potential. Realizing that potential depends not only on resources, but also on the effectiveness of the systems that manage and support economic activity. This brings us back to the central message of today's update. A currency does not gain credibility solely because people discuss its value. Credibility develops when institutions function effectively, financial systems become stronger, economic activity expands, and governance supports long-term stability. Correspondent banking relationships increase reach. Exports generate income. Transparency builds trust. Effective governance provides certainty. Together, these elements create the framework within which a currency operates. For followers of the Iraqi Dinar, the most important takeaway may be that institutional progress continues to matter. While exchange rates often dominate discussions, the underlying fundamentals ultimately shape long-term confidence. Positive developments in banking, exports, transparency, and governance can contribute to a stronger economic environment over time. It is equally important to maintain realistic expectations. Progress in fundamentals should not automatically be interpreted as evidence of immediate or dramatic currency changes. Professional analysis focuses on measurable developments rather than speculation. Sustainable economic improvement is usually gradual, reflecting the accumulation of many reforms and achievements rather than a single event. The broader lesson extends beyond Iraq. Throughout history, countries that strengthened institutions, improved transparency, expanded trade, and maintained stable governance often created conditions conducive to economic growth. While every country follows its own path, these principles remain widely recognized within economics and finance. As observers continue monitoring developments in Iraq, attention will likely remain focused on practical indicators, such as banking reforms, export performance, investment activity, infrastructure development, fiscal management, and governance effectiveness. These indicators provide valuable insight into the direction of the economy and the strength of its foundations. Ultimately, today's update serves as a reminder that meaningful economic progress is often measured through systems rather than headlines. Institutional credibility, financial transparency, international connectivity, and effective governance may not always generate excitement, but they remain among the most important drivers of long-term economic success. For Iraqi Dinar followers, this week's developments appear to reinforce the idea that progress is occurring in areas many economists consider foundational. While challenges remain and future outcomes can never be guaranteed, movement across multiple structural pillars is generally viewed as constructive because it strengthens the framework supporting the broader economy. As always, the most responsible approach is to focus on verified information, official announcements, and measurable economic indicators. Careful analysis and realistic expectations remain essential when evaluating developments related to any currency or economy. Thank you for watching Iraqi Dinar News. If you want more responsible, factual, and balanced updates about the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's economy, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. This content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered financial, investment, legal, or trading advice. Always conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before making any financial decisions.